American Express Open Business Cards from American Express can help cover the big purchases you need to make when you need to make them. Find out how American Express Open Cards and Services can help prepare you for growth at open.com.
Hey, football fans, this is Mel Kiper Jr. On the latest First Draft podcast, Todd McShay and I identify a crisis which must be dealt with in the world of football. Find out what it is when you subscribe to the show in the Listen tab of the ESPN app.
This is Mike and Mike on ESPN Radio and ESPN2.
The league isn't fun anymore. Every other league, you see the players have a good time. It's a game.
There's part of me that says to the NFL a little bit at times, just back off a little bit.
Absolutely.
Just back off a little bit.
It is the least productive day in the history of commerce in the city of Chicago. The Cubs parade is today.
There's so many young players. I think they understand what happened. They don't understand it like the generations of people who are going to be out celebrating today in Chicago.
Now, here's Mike and Mike.
We roll on into the final hour on this Friday of Mike and Mike in the Morning. Trey Wingo in for Mike Greenberg. Mike Golick is here. And ladies and gentlemen, joining us in studio is Joey Galloway. How are you, Joe?
What's going on, guys?
Good to have you here. And again, in a half hour, we'll be talking to Kyle Schwarber from the Chicago Cubs as they get ready to have their parade this morning in Chicago.
Why did you not finish "It's good to have you here" before you went right into Kyle Schwarber?
That's
you didn't finish my...
Well,
bringing me
we're
in.
going to talk to you for 20 minutes. I just wanted to throw that out there. We'll talk to him in a half hour.
I think you should be insulted.
I think you kind of cut my hello a little short.
I did?
I think he did. I think he did.
Wow, you feel...
And I backed you last time I was here on that color thing that you were, the crayon.
The crayon.
The crayon.
Thank you.
thing.
Crayon.
I
Crayon. Not
backed
crayons.
you on
Crayons.
that, so I feel like...
Yeah. I apologize.
Okay, good.
Wow. Hold on. That may have never happened before in the history of the show. Holy moly.
Well, here's the reason I haven't apologized to you, but I'll apologize to Joey. I respect Joey.
There you go. That
very
makes
much
all the sense
so.
in the world, actually.
that.
Yeah, so Joey Galloway now joins us here on Mike and Mike. It is great to have you.
Hey, but who's coming up in 30 minutes?
I don't know. I haven't looked at the rundown just yet, so I'm not really sure.
No, it will be Kyle Schwarber joining us. Or is it going to actually be Kyle Schwarber or some semblance of Kyle Schwarber that might be joining, depending on where he is in his mood lightning.
How great's it got to be getting ready to ride in a parade like that?
I can't even imagine.
Oh, my gosh.
Does it bother you that you can't even imagine?
Yes.
Yeah,
yes,
that's what he's getting at,
me
right?
too.
Yeah.
Man,
It does
every
bother me.
Super Bowl that happens every year, I'm jealous of those two teams.
Absolutely.
That somebody is going to be holding the trophy and getting a parade. It's horrible.
Yeah, so he'll join us in a little bit. By the way, ESPN 1000 in Chicago, great people, great station out there. They will carry the parade, the speeches, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. But really, this is the day in Chicago to just don't even pretend to work. Don't even pretend like I'm going to go be productive. I'm going to make that sales call. I'm going to be in that boardroom. I'm going to have that meeting. None of that's happening today. Literally, it should be a citywide holiday. There should be no school.
Oh, it's exactly right.
If any kid gets in trouble for not being in school on Friday, that's a bad teacher.
I even go back
it's
to
a bad teacher.
Everybody knew Game 7 was on Wednesday, right? It was going to be a Game 7. That there was actually, we got tweets from parents who said their kids on Thursday morning in Chicago, a couple of them had like 2 tests. Well, who does that?
That's cruel people.
And it's not just
cruel
Chicago,
people.
On my flight here yesterday, in the airports I was in Columbus and in Washington, D.C., all I could hear is Cubs stories. Everybody's telling a Cubs story of what they were doing.
Yep.
And I'm just like, it was a great game. I'm not a Cubs fan. Unfortunately, I'm a Pittsburgh Pirates fan.
Right.
We were singing at home. But I had to hear it all the way here. It's not just Chicago. This thing
It's a
is
national
like,
story.
It is.
It is national.
Yeah.
That's why the
And all
ratings
these
were
Cubs
what they
fans
were.
are coming out of the woodwork.
Well, it's
now.
funny you say that, too. When the Seahawks won their first Super Bowl over the Broncos a couple years ago, I had never seen more Seahawk hats in my life. I'm not saying they weren't always Seahawks fans, but I never saw them wearing any of the Seahawk paraphernalia, and suddenly it's everywhere.
Yeah.
And the Cubs are like that, too. By the way, you brought up the Pirates. The Cubs are the first team since the 1979
Right.
We Are Family Pittsburgh Pirates to be down 3-1 and win the final 2 games.
Win
the final 3
6-7
games,
on
game
the road.
6-7 on the road.
On the road, yep.
So that was impressive.
Yep.
I love that team, by the way. The 79 Pirates, Pop
absolutely.
Stargell, Bill Matlock, everybody on that team. Omar Moreno was on that team. They
Right.
were great. Kent Tekulve.
Do you know why most of and most of the starters on that Cubs team have no clue about that because they're only 24 years old or younger?
Yeah.
Just a bunch of kids.
It's crazy how good they could be going forward.
Yep.
So anyway, that's that. We'll have Schwarber coming up a little later on. But again, Joey's here, and it's time to talk a little college football. Let's start with the rankings. Washington out of the picture right now at number 5. That to you, Joey, says what?
Washington is fine. And everyone looks at the rankings and say they're at number 5. I always look around, like, what's around them. So they're sitting at 5 with Texas A&M and Alabama in the top 4. One of those teams is coming out. The SEC champion is getting in. The other SEC team is getting out. If you look behind them, there's Ohio State. Ohio State and Michigan are in there. One of those teams will be eliminated. One Big Ten team is getting in, and those two play each other. So if I'm Washington, Louisville doesn't. I can't see a path for Louisville to get there because they just don't have a signature win coming up. So if I'm Washington, I feel really comfortable being number 5. First ranking doesn't matter.
I could not agree more, 1,000%. And actually, you talk about, these young men 18 to 22 who can get that testosterone built up. What a great chance to be frenzied now into, we know, just what we said, if they keep winning and they're going to be in, but for their coach to say, look at this, the committee doesn't respect you, and they can throw all that stuff out there to get these kids in a fever pitch to go play, when in actuality, just take care of business and you're in. To me, the biggest question, Joey, comes about if Washington loses a game and then still wins the championship. Does that open the door for, and I think the only non-conference winning team that has a chance in the Big Ten. I think either an Ohio State, or that would mean Ohio State beating Michigan, giving them both a loss, and then one of them going on to win the Big Ten championship and the other only having that one loss. Could they possibly get in over a one-loss Pac-12 championship team?
I guess my problem is coming from when we're asking not just 2 teams from one conference, but 2 teams from one division of one conference.
Right.
So now we're talking about Ohio State and Michigan are in the same conference, in the same division of the Big Ten. So one of those teams will be sitting at home on the weekend when 2 teams are playing for that conference championship. So you look at Alabama A&M, same difference.
Yep.
One team is sitting at home while the other team is playing for the the conference championship.
Right.
So you're going backwards to grab a team that didn't even get to that. That one is tough for me at this point.
I agree.
To accept, but I fear that it could happen. And you're absolutely right. If Washington drops a game, which they've looked as good as anybody in the country.
They absolutely have.
Both sides.
Everybody just keeps assuming, they're going to lose one. I don't know.
They're not operating under that assumption. They're solid.
I have more confidence in Washington running the table than I do in any other team in the country, including Alabama, to run the table. Because Alabama's path with LSU and Auburn on it isn't all that clean. Washington should do it.
Well, they got the big one coming up. Alabama does this weekend against LSU in Baton Rouge. And obviously, Leonard Fournette is healthy and he looks like he's good. But, he had a real tough time last year against Alabama's defense. And this Alabama defense might be a lot better than the defense that Alabama threw at Leonard Fournette a year ago.
They couldn't throw the ball at all. They couldn't do anything in the pass game. And when you're talking football and you only have one pitch, a good defense will shut you down.
Right.
This year, and I don't want to get carried away, but I am as excited about Danny Etling and their passing game now because they were so bad before that they've improved. Now they're not by any stretch a great passing team, but at least you have to cover their pass game. You have to.
It has to be accounted for.
Yeah, exactly. Now you got to account for it. Yeah. So if they can at least. They don't have to be great, but they have to be able to threaten Alabama's defense with their pass game, which I think they can. Then at least it gives them a second pitch that Nick Saban and Alabama had to worry about. So they have a chance. I was almost leaning toward picking LSU to win this
Really?
game.
Yeah, I can't go that far. I agree with you about the chance. I mean, their passing game was so disrespected and non-existent that you just, load up to constrict Fournette. But so I do agree it opens up a little more. Joey, this Alabama team just slowly just compresses you and just takes charge. And even though this offense has opened up, I still don't know if it's enough of an offense to do enough to this defense to win.
You got to keep the defense and the special teams out of the end zone.
Yeah.
That sounds simple, but not when you're playing Alabama.
Make their offense beat you one time. Make Jalen Hurts beat you with his arm.
That's it right there. Make Jalen Hurts beat you, not with his legs. Exactly.
No. Well, the other thing there is that they looked a little human for a while against A&M, and then they were like, no, we're good. And they just steamrolled. So we're talking about this game between LSU and Alabama, and the game day Chevy Silverado is headed to Baton Rouge, Louisiana, and Mike and Mike's Game Day Picks brought to you by Chevy Silverado, dependably getting game day to game day. So let's pick that game. What do we think? You said you're leaning towards possibly taking LSU. Alabama at LSU. Who do you got?
I want to say LSU.
Do it. Be that guy.
I can't do it.
Oh,
I got Alabama.
Yeah.
I really want to.
Bringing us this close.
I want to.
Bringing us
He
this
did.
close.
He brought us. He brought us to the edge there and almost did it.
I want to. I need a couple more games of Danny Etling to feel comfortable.
I'm with you. I just can't see it. I do agree their offense has opened up more, but I don't think enough to beat this Alabama.
All right, look, if they pull the upset, I know it would be an upset. If they pull the upset,
sure it will.
We'll make sure you come back. We'll have.
Can I get half credit?
You wanted to. You'll get half credit. You'll get half credit.
What an atmosphere!
No, it's going to be.
That's going to be though.
It's going to be great.
Yeah, it'll be
incredible.
good atmosphere with me back here in the studio with Danny Cannell too. That'll be.
That'll be the
that
atmosphere.
is
Well, you dealing with
outstanding, too.
Well,
Danny,
that's
I mean, you
dealing with Danny is never that outstanding.
get dealt the bad hand
yeah,
every
15
That's
hours.
danger pay.
15 hours.
That's
on
danger
Saturday.
pay.
It really is.
The other one, Nebraska at Ohio State. That's the primetime game, 8:00 on ABC.
Ohio State, what, favored by 17? I mean, we talked about this last week, Joey. Nebraska had their chance.
Yep.
They had the 2-game swing with Wisconsin and then with Ohio State to kind of make their presence known, and that ended last week in overtime for them. So you just wonder the air that got taken out of them with that.
We'll see what Tommy Armstrong Jr. is made of. Not a great passing quarterback,
No.
a great athlete. If he can limit, or if they can limit the amount of times he has to beat Ohio State with his arm, as in keep it in 3rd and 4-ish area where he could run the ball as opposed to pass, then Nebraska has a chance in this game. I think Ohio State wins it, but I think it'll be closer than 17. I don't think
I
it'll be
do
a
too.
blowout.
I thought that number.
big spread.
I thought that number
That is
was
a big
a little
spread.
bit. I know we're going to bring Herbie in, but one other real quick one we can ask Herbie as well. Wisconsin, this Northwestern team has been, kind of. It's one of those teams you're saying, man, you don't need to get dumped by them, and now Wisconsin's going to play them, and there are more than a few people that think that Northwestern can pull it off.
I don't think they will win, but Northwestern, what they did last week against Ohio State was they did a nice job on 3rd down of staying on the field. And it's almost like you got to the end, especially the first half, and it was Ohio State had like 3 or 4 possessions because Northwestern did a good job of staying on the field. And the importance on 3rd down, I think that gets overlooked a lot, but the importance on 3rd down, if you can extend your drive and just stay out there a little longer, what it does to the other team, what it does to the other team's defense, to morale, and it keeps the offense on the sideline. You can stay in a game just if you are good on 3rd down.
Yeah, just extend the game. The longer you're in the game, the crowd becomes less and less a part of it, and it really changes the dynamic. Okay, you're with us here in studio, but Kirk Herbstreit joins us now on the Pennzoil Progressive Shell Pennzoil Performance Line. Kirk Herbstreit is brought to you by Allstate, proud sponsors of college football. It's good to be in good hands. And Herbie, obviously we're talking a lot about the rankings here as we welcome you into the show. And we talked a little bit about this with Joey and Washington and their ability to sort of flop into that top 4 depending on what happens with Texas A&M and some of these other teams in that top 4. But in your opinion, Herbie, what do the rankings say about the committee's interpretation of each of the conferences right now?
Well, I think it says a lot about the respect they have for what A&M has done in contrast to Washington and the Pac-12, and especially Washington's non-conference with Portland State and Idaho and Rutgers. I just think it's a first rankings reflection of kind of where things are as we sit right now. Washington fans are probably panicking, and I think in my opinion, there's no need for that. History shows us in 14, this system is really built for all the data to be put into it, and then you can pull out the 4 based on, if you're a conference champion or what your overall schedule is, those kind of things. So I think right now, if you really go back and dive through it, I think it's understandable why they have A&M, despite the 1 loss to Alabama, why they might be up there ahead of Washington. But again, if everybody wins out, in my opinion, Washington ends up in the top 4. I don't think they will win out. But I'm saying if they do, then I think they would be in.
Yeah, I completely agree. If they win out, I do think they have a good chance to win out. We will see. That's why they play. And let me ask both of you, and Joey, I'll start with you. If you guys were in that committee room every week, so what in your mind, to you, Joey, and then to you, Herbie, what's your criteria? You're human beings. They can give you all the lists they want, but you're still making your decisions. What's your top couple of criteria that you look at for ranking?
I would probably be voted out of the room because I'm honest. They would probably get me out because I am stubbornly stuck on wins and losses. And losses.
Well, those should matter. As Herm said, that's why you play the game.
Yeah, I agree. But now with this system, and just like Herb was mentioning, the wins, losses, and the quality opponents, A&M having a loss would matter to me more than beating UCLA or beating Tennessee or, you know what I mean, or beating Auburn early on. The wins and losses, they just stick with me. And that would be the first thing. And I would be so heavily stuck on that I think somebody would eventually try to kick me out of the room.
Herbie, how about you?
Well, first I would kick Joey out of the room.
Wow, Buckeye and Buckeye crime. What's going on?
Yeah.
No, I look at it a little bit differently. I think when you watch all these teams from the Pac-12 all the way over to the ACC and in between, I think different teams are challenged differently because of what they face week in and week out. And playing on the road, let's say 3 or 4 of your tough teams are up in the top 15 or top 25 on the road, and you stumble in one of those versus a team that maybe plays one team that's ranked the entire year. They play them at home. So I don't think it's fair to just look at a wins, their wins and losses. I think you have to look at the circumstances. That's why I'm always hopeful that beyond the metrics that the committee uses, that these folks are actually watching the games weekly. Because you can, in my opinion, you can get some great kind of a vibe for a feel of a team based on how they're playing. Like Ohio State last year was a great example. They had all that NFL talent. But if you were watching Ohio State all year, it was like I always say they were stuck in like second or third gear.
Exactly.
They just were sleepwalking because they didn't respect who they were playing, and it wasn't, they didn't feel threatened. So they just kind of did what they had to do, and then it finally blew up on them when they lost to Michigan State. And then they showed up in a bad mood against Michigan and Notre Dame, and they looked like the team everybody was waiting to see. See, to me, if we're splitting hairs, you should be penalized for that. That's beyond metrics. That's beyond. You have to watch them to understand that. And so, hopefully, the folks in the room, I know they're caught up in a lot of the measurables, but I think just watching these teams play, you can really get a feel for who, at the end of the day, the best 4 teams are, because that's what it's about. Best 4. It's not about, well, we can't have 2 from one conference, or they didn't make their own conference championship game. It's who, when the dust settles, who are the best 4 teams, regardless of all the rest of that stuff. That's who we want in the playoffs at the end of the year.
Well, you're certainly hoping guys that are or people that are watching are making this process and deciding it are absolutely watching the games at a minimum. That's what you should be doing. Mike and Mike on ESPN Radio and ESPN2, presented by Progressive Insurance. All phone guests appear on the Shell Pennzoil Performance Line, like our good friend Kirk Herbstreit is right now. And Kirk, we were just talking about this with Joey before you jumped on. He wanted to go there and think that LSU was going to take down Alabama. Let's assume, just for the sake of this discussion, that happens. If Alabama were to lose, what would that do, in your opinion, to where they would be in the rankings when they come out next week?
Trey, you can appreciate this. Let me tell you just a quick story before I answer your question, because I'm sitting here thinking about listening to Joey on this radio show. There was a time when Joseph Scott Galloway was a first-round draft pick out of Ohio State. I was doing local radio. Golick, you can appreciate a guy trying to bang around doing local radio. I used to beg Joey in the off-season, come down to the studio. Come on down. Do a couple hours of radio. It'll be great. We'll talk about Reds baseball. You can make fun of me about the Reds. We'll talk about this. He just would be like, man, I'm not coming down there. He would begrudgingly come down. He would come down. Nobody was paying him, which for Joey is a big deal to leave his house if nobody's paying him. So he would come down. And
wow. The bus just backed up again.
Time. He would have a great time making fun of me. And so he'd have fun when he came down, talking NHL hockey. We were breaking it down. I swear, I did that show for 15 years. And if people were listening, live in Columbus, Ohio, they would know Joey would come down and have a great time. And now here he is. I'm seeing him on TV. You look great today, Joe. He's sitting there on the set, doing radio, how about his career after his NFL career? He's crushing it on ESPN. And it all goes back to me pulling him by his ear, making him do those radio hits. So, Joseph, I'm very proud of you.
Yeah, and I appreciate that. It was quite honest. He used to bring me down because it would give him the day off. He would start some controversial conversation, and he would sit back and just kick his feet up and laugh as everybody's calling in to argue with me. Back
That's local radio.
Well, it was like an off day for him. Basically,
to your point, you realize what he just did right there.
Yeah,
he pivoted.
He did.
Yeah, absolutely.
You should run a campaign right now, Herbie.
Question.
You did the great pivot. Well, I'll answer that question in a minute. But first, let's talk about my friend Joseph Scott Galloway.
No
He went full name,
He's
by
been
the way.
doing it since
when
the
you
beginning.
go full middle name, you know you're really trying to make a point here. Answer the question, Herbie. What happens to Bama if they lose?
If they lose, they still have Auburn to play. They're still in a position where, depending on what happens with Texas A&M and Auburn in that game, they still could be okay. The SEC West, because of LSU's slow start, LSU is going to need help with Auburn losing a game because they've already lost to Auburn. So I don't think Bama comes into this game where they've won 5 in a row and they've consistently played really well in Baton Rouge, and they're thinking, you know what, we're playing with house money. If we lose, we're still going to be in a good spot. But I personally think if they lose, depending on how the game goes, if it's competitive and they lose a close one, I still think they're in position to still be able to get ultimately to Atlanta and get into the SEC championship game and into the playoff. But I don't think that's their goal. I think they're thinking about Leonard Fournette and stopping him. Remember last year, 19 carries, 31 yards. Leonard Fournette, I'm sure, is the most motivated college football player in the nation to try to avenge last year's performance in Tuscaloosa.
Never does a running back want to see a quarterback complete the ball down the field to back up.
Give me a chance.
Yep.
Give me a chance.
And, Joey, we will give you partial credit because you almost picked LSU.
Thank you. I appreciate
that. If LSU were to pull this
full
thing
credit,
off.
though, goes to Joseph Scott Galloway.
Well,
There's no
you go.
question about that.
Thanks, Joey.
That was an incredible pivot, Herbie.
Yeah, it really was.
Keep doing you.
Wow.
All right?
You got it, lads. Have a great weekend.
Good. Kirk Herbstreit. By the way, Kirk Herbstreit from Centerville, Ohio, if I'm not mistaken. And when we come back in a little bit, we're going to have somebody else from Centerville, Ohio. That'll be Kyle Schwarber. We also have the winning word coming up at 9:45. But first, if you will, Mike, Dave & Buster's.
Oh, let's talk about Dave & Buster's. They have everything you need for the best experiences football season. How about this offer? Play 3 sports games free every day now until November 13th. You're the quarterback. Test your skills and challenge your friends with the 2-minute drill. Then you get into my territory. $5 apps. Sundays, Mondays, Thursdays. Huddle nachos, mozzarella sticks, spinach dip, all for $5. Then you stay in my world. You wash it down with your favorite beer. They have over 20 beers to choose from. Try them all. Get into the game like never before. I didn't even mention their massive HD TVs. No matter where you're sitting, you have a great seat for the game, just like you're at the game, except in a lot better seats. Clearly no other place to watch and get everything under one roof. This is the best offer right now, gang. Play 3 sports games free, $5 apps, and beer specials. These offers will not last long, so hurry on in. Dave & Buster's, the only place to watch the games and to play the games. We're back after this. I'm Mike and Mike.
Mike and Mike rolls on with his Sports Center update on this Friday morning. Thursday Night Football, Week 9 underway in the NFL. The Falcons continue to do what the Falcons have done all year, just light up opposing defenses. Matt Ryan, 344 yards in the air, 4 touchdowns, no interceptions as Atlanta cruises by the Bucs, 43-28. Atlanta had lost 3 straight to Tampa Bay, including Week 1 in Atlanta. But that streak is now over. Meanwhile, the Warriors played the Thunder in Northern California. Kevin Durant with a season-high 39 points, 29 in the first half, 7 3-pointers, 122-96 the final score. Russell Westbrook and Kevin Durant did not communicate in any way, shape, or possible that we are aware of at this
DMing,
point.
no nothing?
Nothing, no texting, no Snapchat, nothing.
Instagram?
No, nothing.
No?
Not anything.
Vine? Oh, never mind. That's gone.
Yeah, well,
sorry. Wow.
It was a good run.
Mm-hmm.
Meanwhile, the Cubs parade starts today, although technically the pre-parading started Thursday morning.
Yeah, it did.
At some point,
Yeah.
as the Cubs are getting set to have the celebration with their fans because they clinched in Cleveland. It's going to start at 10 a.m. Central Time, 11 o'clock Eastern Time, and, of course, full coverage of the parade will be on our fine station in Chicago, ESPN 1000. All the great shows there and run by Jim Pastor, the great general manager of that station, all getting it done for the Cubs parade in Chicago.
What an incredible suck-up out of you. That's Sports Center.
I do what I can.
Brought to you by Tommy John. Experience comfort you never knew existed with Tommy John, the 21st century men's underwear, backed by the best pair you'll ever wear, or it's free guarantee. Use the promo code Mike at TommyJohn.com. You're going to save yourself 20% on your first order. That's TommyJohn.com.
That's right. Trey Wingo in for Mike Greenberg. Mike Golick is here. By the way, fortuitous timing on this. We talked about it and the things that have been going on and what should or should not be happening in Chicago, as we're hoping to have Kyle Schwarber of the Cubs join us in a few minutes. Chicago Public Schools closed today.
There you go.
But it was already a scheduled day off.
Right,
so,
it was.
So it's not like they're being, hey, kids, we'll give you the day. It was like, you got lucky.
That's what I mean. Thursday should have been off as well. Just call it a weekend. For Thursday and Friday. You're right. It was already off. But, as I continue to say, as I'm disappointed as a born and raised in Cleveland that the Indians didn't win it. But for these fans in Chicago, it's going to be – for the players, it's going to be great. They win. They get the World Series. They have it next to their name for the rest of their lives. I get all that. But there's no doubt the deeper entrenched meaning for all of this and waiting period and just the agonizing from generation to generation of just what a release this is and a release and relief for these fans.
Well, it is. And if you have – some time to kill today, and obviously you won't in Chicago because you're otherwise predisposed. Take a look and go on YouTube and just Google old Cubs fans celebrate. It'll bring you to tears.
Really will.
I mean, it really will to see these guys that are up and running and ready to roll after all of that stuff and all the years and all the waiting it's been on. To see them finally have their moment. And I feel a little guilty because I've been very lucky in my life to see so many of my favorite teams win multiple championships. It's been an amazing thing.
And there's a part of me that's jealous. I went 9 years in the NFL into my 30s and never even sniffed the championship in the NFL in my sport. A Super Bowl. This guy is 23 years old and has a World Series
and
ring.
He's a big reason why they're sniffing that World Series championship. So joining us now on the Shell Pennzoil Performance Line is the rock star when it comes to hitting for the Chicago Cubs in the World Series. Kyle Schwarber is with us. Kyle, I have to ask, how's the pre-gaming going for the parade route right now?
Hasn't started yet for me. I just woke up, so I got to get it going here soon. Let
me ask you a quick question. Have you just woken up from the celebration from winning the World Series?
Exactly. That's it. It's a 2-day bender.
I don't blame you guys a bit. And to go back to it, I've explained to others about what you went through. I always talk about when an athlete in a team sport gets hurt, they become a lot of times a ghost. You're on your own program, your own itinerary, rehabbing, doing your own thing. A lot of times that person doesn't feel as much part of the team. So I know you've done this before, but take us through that and the rehab part of this and just the work you put in a lot of times by yourself to get yourself in position that you were to be on the World Series roster.
Well, luckily the team kept me around. I could have easily been in Arizona. And they decided to keep me around. So I was very, very grateful for that. But luckily, I had a really good physical therapist team at ATI guy. ATI is one of the fastest growing physical therapy places around. And they had a really good game plan for me. There was a lot of hard work, and there was days where you just didn't want to do it. And, I credit my teammates. They helped me out a lot during it. And, they deserve all the credit for getting me, back to playing into that World Series.
Well, listen, obviously it was a great call by them to keep you around because you led the team in hitting with going 412 in the World Series coming off that knee. And he's only 23, but a veteran move by you to make sure you get the name of the rehab center out there.
Yeah, good
Solid
job.
work on your part,
Good job.
Schwarbs. Tip of the cap for you there. But I have to ask, hitting 412, was that even remotely something you were thinking about doing when you realized you were going to be able to come back and play in this postseason? What were your realistic expectations?
Man, I don't know. I didn't really think that it would be possible for me to play. And once they told me I was able to give it a shot and try to play again, it would have killed me deep down inside if I didn't try. So, obviously I went down to Mesa, and, I wasn't feeling the hottest coming out of Mesa, but going in the World Series, I mean, that's what you look for. The adrenaline's crazy. Pressure-packed situations. It's everything that you want to put yourself in. And baseball's a crazy game, like I said, and anything can happen.
Well, it certainly did. Kyle Schwarber with us here on Mike and Mike, presented by Progressive Insurance. And listen, you hit the tar out of the ball. You did a great job. You were hitting everything to all fields. But I got to ask, in the third inning.
Yeah, since you won it, we can have some fun.
It's okay now, but you hit that single, and somewhere you're like, I think I can make this a double. And how soon after rounding the bag did you think this was a horrible idea?
Probably about as soon as I touched the bag with my right foot. I'm like, this is not a good idea. I'm like, man, I felt like Superman. I hit an infield single, then I steal second base. I'm on cloud nine, and then I hit a ball to the wall, and I got thrown out easily. I'm like, man, that puts you right back in your spot. But that obviously was not a good idea. Probably once I touched first, I'm like, well, there's no stopping.
Yeah,
it's going to take a lot to stop this body. It's going to take a lot to stop this body.
Momentum took over, and it made you go all the way to second. That was
great.
And like we said, it's something you can joke about now that you have the World Series. And one of the other big stories with you after the first game started in Cleveland was going back to Chicago, and the only way you could get the 3-4 at-bats was if you played in the field. So all of a sudden, all the cameras are on. Is he shagging fly balls? What's going on? And then, obviously, you didn't play in those 3 games. How close were you to actually going in the field for those games?
Not very close. I mean, we sat down with the doctor on the phone, and we just tried to make the best possible decision for the team one, and for myself too. And I deep down I wanted to play, but I knew that I would hurt the team if I did. If someone hit a ball down the line, and that might be a triple. So I just wanted to be ready for a pitch hit spot at any time and go from there.
Yeah, it doesn't matter now because it's all by the wayside because you guys have won. And look, Kyle, obviously Game 7 and that moment on the field at Progressive Field in Cleveland and inside that clubhouse afterward was the moment for the team where you guys realize what you have accomplished. But this next thing that you're doing today, the parade, which is going to start at 10 o'clock Central Time in Chicago, 11 o'clock Eastern Time, that's going to be really for the fans. It's going to be a totally different dynamic. And I think a lot of the players, even as young as you all are, understood the history of the Cubs and how long it had been. What are you expecting today when you're going to see this unbelievable outpouring of just sheer joy that millions of people are going to feel because of what you guys were able to do?
Yeah, it's going to be great for the city of Chicago today. Our fans really do deserve it. I mean, obviously, it's been 108 years since something like this has been done, and it's going to be pretty much the first parade for a baseball team in this city in a long time. But I remember when I was in high school, I was driving to a baseball tournament up in Schaumburg, and I drove past the city, and it just happened to be the day that the Blackhawks won they're having their parade down the city. You could see everything and from the highway. So I'm like, man, it's going to be like that times 10. So I really can't wait to see all the fans out there. It's going to be great.
and want to let you go enjoy it. So one more quick one from us, and really congratulations on this whole experience for you. And as I said many times on this show, I'm jealous every year in my sport when the Super Bowl plays because I never got to play in it and have the chance to be a champion. You got that at 23 years old. So take us to the moment of the ground ball to Bryant when you know it's going to be basically a routine play, and that's going to end the game, and that's going to give you the World Series. Just at that moment, what your thoughts were?
I was stressed out of my mind. I'm out of the game. There's nothing that you can do to control the game. So I was stressed. I'm talking to myself. I'm talking to Lester. He's talking to himself, but ball's hit, and my first reaction was that, oh my God, it's a single. I thought it was going to be a little swing and bunt, but once he picks it up and throws it, I mean, it was just complete mayhem. No real thought process. It was just go out and celebrate. Let's get it going.
Well, it is great. We're watching the replay there, and just see Chris Bryant as the ball's coming to him.
Yeah.
The grin that started on his face before he even threw it. He knew. He knew.
And then Rizzo putting the ball in his pocket for a later
veteran
date.
move. I'm keeping this baseball. Well, look, man, I know you just woke up. It's been a bender for a couple of days. Guess what? Lather, rinse, repeat, because that's going to happen for a while.
Keyword for everybody today is Uber, Kyle.
Yeah.
Okay?
Just make sure we're in a hydrating situation. Kyle Schwarber with us on Mike and Mike. Congratulations, man. Enjoy the moment. You may never have anything else in the rest of your life like the thing you're going to have today with all these people.
Enjoy it, man.
Soak it in. Thanks for making us part of your morning. Kyle Schwarber with us.
All right,
you
thanks,
got
man.
it. Unbelievable.
Wow.
I can't even imagine.
No.
I can't even imagine. I'd love to be there just to see it all and just soak it all in. It's going to be an unbelievable experience. And again, ESPN 1000 in Chicago is going to have coverage of the parade all day long. All right, so that's the end of the deal in the World Series in baseball. But, of course, the College Football Championship is coming up. And your chance to go to the College Football Championship with us here on Mike and Mike. But first, a word from Burger King.
Well, it's the best place to have your breakfast. How about on a warm croissant? Right now at Burger King, get 2 sandwich breakfast sandwiches for just $4. A light, flaky croissant. You can pile it high with savory sausage or delicious thick-cut smoked bacon. 2 of them for $4. It isn't breakfast. This is Burger King breakfast. Get 2 sandwich breakfast sandwiches right now for $4 only at Burger King. Restrictions do apply. Price and participation vary. We're back after this on Mike and Mike.
The Mike and Mike on the road to the College Football Playoff Sweepstakes is presented by Autos.
Sports Center is brought to you by Protection One. Sports action sure heats up in the fall, but unfortunately, burglaries do not slow down. Let Protection One watch over your home and family. Go to ProtectionOne.com/Mike for a Protection One home security system starting at just about $1 a day.
That's not bad. Nope. Mike and Mike, Trey Wingo in for Mike Greenberg. It is Mike Golick here, and you know what it is? It's time for the winning word. You ready, Mike?
Yes, I am.
This is the big payoff here.
Yes, it is.
Sell it. Bring it.
Okay, the word now. Normally, Brooksy screws this thing up like he did when we had a word that was a number.
7.
You spell it out. You put the digit. He screws things up. We made it very easy today. Very, very easy. If you're watching on ESPN2, you see Brooksy holding up a sign that says #Fire Brooks, and he's right.
Trending.
We've been trying to fire him, but unfortunately for legal reasons, we can't. We'll try and get
He's got a
past
37-year contract.
It
which
really
was
does.
really astounding.
Don't know how he pulled that off. Good agent there. But today's winning word is the day. Today is Friday. The winning word is Friday.
The winning word is the day. I'm like, no, it's not the day. It's Friday. Just say Friday.
I set it up.
Travis was with me.
He was with me. Well, as soon as I did it last time, you immediately started throwing other words out there.
Correct. I'm just
spelling it incorrectly and such.
Also true.
It is Friday.
I blame myself.
Friday. Friday. That is the word.
All you got to do.
Your chance for you and a guest to win a trip with Greeny and I to Tampa Bay for the national championship. There's going to be 15 winners, gang.
That's awesome.
With their guests, that's 30 people coming with us. And all you have to do is register that word, and you can do it both these ways. And these are the only 2 ways. I can't stress that enough. Don't do it any other way but these 2 ways so you can be entered. You can text the word, again, which is Friday. Text it to 777-000 or enter it online at mikesroadtothecfp.com. Again, text the word to 777-000 or enter the word online at mikesroadtothecfp.com. We'd like to congratulate, as this is going on, the first 5 of our winners as this thing keeps moving on. Remember, every day, including today, there is a big-time winner. Lila from Crawfordville, Florida, is a winner.
Lila.
Nelson.
Although it's a home game for her. Probably not too far.
Probably not. Nelson from Elkhart, Indiana.
Nelson.
That's a little farther.
Nelson strong.
Christina from Galveston, Texas.
Oh, by the shore. Beautiful city.
Greg from Tupelo, Mississippi.
Tupelo. I know
right
people
below,
from
one
Tupelo.
below.
Okay.
It's just horrible.
That was bad.
Patrick from Farmers Branch, Texas.
Farmers Branch, that's right outside Dallas.
Oh, it is?
Yeah,
I am not going to lie.
Almost
no
everything
idea.
is a suburb of Dallas these days
No idea
except
where
Texas.
Farmers Branch is.
Yeah,
so from Dallas to Farmers Branch, what, 3-4 hour drive?
It's like a couple of farmers' fields away.
Yeah, there you go. So Lila, Nelson, Christina, Greg, and Patrick, congrats. There's 5. We'll keep winning, giving the names of the people as are our winners. They and their guests will be with Greeny and I in Tampa. You will be treated like kings and queens. I mean, for dinners and swag bags and seats to our show, the tailgating you're going to do, seats to the championship game. Going to be fantastic.
It'll be great. That's down the road. Of course, Forward Thinking coming up next, brought to you by Geico. 15 minutes could save you 15% or more on car insurance. Visit us at geico.com or call 1-800-947-AUTO. ESPN Radio has 2 college football games this Saturday. Oregon at USC starting at 6:30. And then, of course, number 1 Crimson Tide against LSU for a Saturday night showdown in Death Valley. Coverage starts at 7. And then on Sunday, it's an NFL doubleheader. Lions at Vikings. Can Minnesota rebound to that 5-0 team as opposed to the team that's lost 2 straight? That's at noon. And the Titans at the Chargers. Coverage beginning at 4 o'clock. And again, parade in Chicago today.
Yeah.
It'll be on ESPN 1000 in Chicago all day. Chicago is going to be the least productive city in America for today.
And enjoy it. So
Yes.
for you, the last 2 shows you've done for Mike and Mike, one you showed up on time, the other you were an hour and 15 minutes late. Which did you enjoy more?
I would much prefer to be late with donuts.
Yeah.
But you know what you would prefer?
What?
Come on. Parade day, baby. I can feel it. I can see the confetti falling down on Michigan Avenue. I can feel it. Mike has left. We're leaving too. There's more stuff coming on radio.
When your business is construction and you get a big job that has to be done in record time, you need to get the ball rolling, which means all of a sudden you're looking to buy enough sheetrock and lumber, steel, and other materials quickly. Business cards from American Express Open can give you buying power to help cover the big purchases you need to make when you need to make them. Find out how American Express cards and services can help prepare you for growth at open.com.
I'm Jamel Hill, and on the latest His and Hers podcast, Michael Smith and I discuss an apocalyptic event that is coming up. And no, it has nothing to do with the fact that the Cubs just won the World Series. Take a listen right now.
Oregon brings an offense averaging over 40 points per game into the Coliseum to face the red-hot USC Trojans. Coverage begins Saturday at 6:30 Eastern on ESPN Radio, presented by Dr. Pepper.